Welcome to Pencil Paper Plot, where we dissect legendary scripts to uncover the genius of their storytelling mechanics, peeling back the layers of dialogue and action to find that fundamental blueprint.
And today we are diving deep into, well, what is basically the foundation of the modern action film, the script for 1988's Die Hard.
I mean, it's a film that just completely redefined what an action hero could be, right?
Oh, absolutely. It changed the stakes, the look, the feel, and really how you could sustain tension in one single claustrophobic location. The screenplay, which was originally by Jeb Stewart and then got this brilliant refinement from Steven D'Souza, all based on Roderick Thorpe's novel, Nothing Lasts Forever. It's just a masterclass.
And we have that blueprint right here in front of us. We're going to track how this simple, elegant setup, one cop, one building, one night, becomes this truly immortal piece of cinematic storytelling.
Yeah.
And our mission today is to really analyze that structure, scene by scene, beat by beat, and finally answer that central burning question that sparks arguments every single holiday season.
Exactly. This is what we need to figure out. Is Die Hard just a superb action script, a really tight thriller, engineered for maximum suspense? Or is the fact that it's set on December 24th a vital, integral, absolutely essential part of why the script works so well emotionally?
We're going to track how that Christmas setting isn't just wallpaper, how it's used as this, thematic engine to heighten tension, define John McClane's character arc, and influence all those crucial payoffs right down to the final moments.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the genius, it really starts on page 1, setting up the hero's internal and external conflict right away.
The very first slug line is already loaded with information. It's a perfect contrast. You open on the 405 freeway, Los Angeles, early evening, so you see that classic orange grid of LA at night.
Right.
And then the script immediately throws in Christmas tinsel wrapped around the palm trees, and then the roar of a 747 landing right overhead.
The moment you read that, you just know that our hero, John McClane, who we meet 2 seconds later, is completely disoriented. He's already fatigued. The script describes him as mid-30s, good-looking, athletic, and tired from his trip. And that tired part is so key. He hasn't even started fighting yet, but he's already fighting jet lag. He's fighting culture shock. He's fighting his own inner demons. He is just fundamentally out of place.
And that displacement is so crucial structurally. It's what gives the writer permission to introduce what becomes McClane's, well, his defining physical handicap.
Yeah, the salesman on the plane.
The salesman, this Babbitt clone type who offers this weird piece of advice for curing jet lag. Take off your shoes and socks, walk around barefoot, and make fists with your toes to circulate the blood.
Okay, and let's just pause on this for a second, because when I first read the script, you almost just dismissed that. It feels like flavor dialogue, just a bit of character interaction.
Right, a throwaway line.
But it is anything but. This single piece of advice immediately puts our hero into a state of physical vulnerability that dictates the entire rest of the movie.
The whole thing.
He takes off the shoes, a decision based on comfort and fatigue. And that decision is going to haunt him with every single step he takes from that point forward.
It's brilliant engineering. It just raises the stakes continuously. And you see him smile and show his cop badge to the salesman, establishing his professional identity. But the vulnerability is already active. His feet are bare. He's armed. But his primary defense against all the broken glass and sharp debris that's about to come, it's just gone.
And it's self-inflicted.
Yes.
Before the action even starts.
Exactly.
And I love how the writers immediately connect that vulnerability to his personal goal. We shift over to the Nakatomi building, this lavish Christmas party, Dom Perignon corks popping.
Yeah.
It's corporate excess in full swing. This is Holly Gennaro McClane's world now.
And the script is so sharp, so efficient in defining that marital rift. We see Holly, she's a driven professional, and her nameplate on the door intentionally omits McClane.
Right. It's Holly Gennaro.
Holly Gennaro, a successful executive. That one little omission tells you everything you need to know about what John is fighting against, or maybe what he ran away from in New York. Her success, this new identity she's carved out for herself.
And the emotional core gets cemented when we flash to the Santa Monica house. We hear her kids, Lucy and John Jr., on the phone asking for toys, talking about Christmas. And when Holly subtly asks the housekeeper, Paulina, if Mr. McClane called, she's trying to hide her disappointment when the answer is no.
Yeah, it shows this wasn't some planned, happy reunion.
No. His visit was unannounced. It's a last-ditch attempt, which just amplifies the personal anxiety for both of them.
And the structural heavy lifting here, all the exposition, is done by the limo driver, Argyle, in the scenes that follow.
Well, Argyle is perfect.
He's written as the perfect exposition character. He's the nosy friend who asks all the uncomfortable questions that the audience desperately needs answered. And through their witty dialogue, Argyle just extracts the entire backstory of their separation.
And that dialogue is brutal, but it's so efficient. It covers Holly's thriving career, John's stubborn refusal to leave his NYC cop life, his resentment. And Argyle delivers the thesis of John's failure when he says,
You mean you thought she wouldn't make it out here and she'd come crawling on back, so why bother to pack?
ugh, that line just cuts so deep because it tells us John's motive for this trip wasn't purely about loving reconciliation. There was this element of bruised male ego, a hope that she would fail and come back to his world.
So the whole story then becomes John's journey to shed that ego and genuinely apologize.
And the Christmas environment just underscores this failure of reconciliation perfectly. As they're driving, Argyle is playing this hard rap song, which he cheekily calls Christmas music.
Right.
McClane looks out the window at, and I'm quoting the script here, 69 degrees, palm trees trimmed in Christmas lights, intermittent West Side token, happy Chinookas.
Yeah.
He's the cold, snowy, traditional East Coast guy dropped into this sun-drenched, corporate, totally alien version of Christmas.
That isolation from family and home is thematic gold.
It's everything.
And Argyle, while he's waiting in the parking garage, basically lays out the stakes for us. He tells John, go upstairs, run into each other's arms, music swells, happily ever after. If not, he's taking to a hotel.
The stakes are so intensely personal, right? They're contained entirely within that building, and they're all tied to his marriage. It elevates the personal story so far above the whole terrorism plot that comes later.
And the building itself acts as the first barrier to that reconciliation. In the lobby, John tries to find Holly on the building directory. He types McClane, Holly, and gets no such employee listed.
Oof.
Then he types Gennaro, Holly, and the 30th floor just blinks. The script uses that moment to visually confirm to him, and us, that his marriage is already fractured right there on a corporate screen.
So now the whole structure shifts. While John and Holly are having that painful, awkward conversation, and John's in Ellis's office, barefoot, clenching his toes, realizing that jet lag cure actually worked, the real external conflict explodes below them.
The intrusion is meticulous. The Emery freight truck, it's the ultimate Trojan horse, and it stops precisely at the service elevator. The professionalism of these antagonists is established with just shocking speed.
Yeah, it's instantaneous. Two of them, Theo and Kyle, walk in. Kyle pulls a silence Walther and just shoots the lobby guard in the forehead before the guy can even react.
And Theo delivers that perfectly dry, chilling punchline. Boom, 2 points.
What I love about that moment is that it immediately tells you these are not nervous political extremists. They're not disorganized criminals. They are stone-cold professionals. They're operating with military precision and absolutely zero hesitation. The audience is instantly aware that the threat is extremely high, and the script doesn't waste a single second generating that fear.
And the lockdown is just as efficient. Theo systematically locks down the entire building from the control room. Passenger elevators stop, heavy steel parking garage gates descend with this huge thud. McClane is trapped.
And the script explicitly notes that when Hans Gruber emerges from the elevator, impeccably dressed, lean, and handsome, the sudden deadly silence is complete. It even says, "Not a creature is stirring." The holiday quiet has become a total trap.
The moment of complete isolation for McClane happens while he's still trying to call Argyle from Ellis's bathroom. He's barefoot, still doing the toe thing, dialing the phone. At the exact same time, down in the basement, Tony and Carl are focused on these 4 CPV plastic conduits.
And Tony opens a case and pulls out a compact electric chainsaw.
A single quick action. He cuts the phone lines, and the hero is completely isolated. When McClane gently taps the phone cradle, he just hears nothing. He tries the office line, still dead. John McClane is truly, truly alone now.
And that detail, it prevents him from just immediately calling the police, right? It forces him to act entirely on his own without any support. It's perfect bottleneck writing.
So after the hostages are all gathered together, the script executes its cleverest subversion of the entire 1980s action genre. Hans steps up on the desk and he starts quoting classical references. And when Alexander saw the breadth of his domain, he wept, for there were no more worlds to conquer. The high-class villain veneer.
And the audience, we're all conditioned by films of that era to expect a manifesto, a political demand, something about global revolution or ideology.
But Hans just cuts right through that with ruthless clarity. I'm interested in the $640 million in negotiable bearer bonds you have in your vault.
And Takagi, the executive, he responds with the audience's natural confusion. What kind of terrorists are you?
And Hans's reply, who said we were terrorists? That is the plot twist that solidifies the whole script's identity. The motive is purely financial. It's grounded in greed and business, which brilliantly mirrors the ultra-capitalist corporate world of Nakatomi itself.
That financial motive is so critical structurally. It explains why they need this building, why they need this specific executive, and why they maintain such tight control.
Totally. If they were political terrorists, they might have just blown the building up. But because they're after the money, they need the system, and they need the vault.
And to establish the stakes of this financial threat, Takagi refuses to give Hans the vault code. He decides him. He says, you're just going to have to kill me.
And Hans, with no fanfare, no heightened emotion, just says, okay, and then bang.
The script describes it so well. The glass doors just splattered red and dripping. This immediate execution establishes two critical things. One, Hans is utterly ruthless. And two, the normal rules of negotiation do not apply here.
The stakes are immediately life and death. This ends the first act on this sharp, violent note. McClane is trapped. The threat is at maximum. It's just a flawless setup. We know the hero, his goal, his weakness, the bare feet, the setting, and the professional, ruthless nature of the threat.
And so we transition into the rising action where McClane, fueled by adrenaline and frustration, starts his counterattack. He's angry at himself for freezing, which is a very human emotion. And he looks up, sees a sprinkler head, the fire alarm switch. He tries to signal for help by triggering that alarm.
And the beauty of the antagonist's preparation is that any external help is instantly shut down. The alarm reaches the ground floor, and Hans just cancels it via radio. McClane watches in disbelief as the distant fire trucks, lights flashing, they just slow down and turn back.
The villains have total control over the building's infrastructure. It just reinforces his isolation.
And that failure forces the direct physical confrontation. Tony, Carl's brother, comes up. When McClane finally jumps him, Tony's smugness is just palpable. He taunts McClane. You won't hurt me, because you are a policeman. There are rules for policemen.
The script is using Tony to define the kind of cop John McClane is not. He's a New York cop. He operates outside the rule book when lives are on the line. He pistol whips Tony. They crash down the steps, and McClane methodically starts searching the dead man for resources.
And here is where that initial vulnerability from the very beginning pays off structurally for the first time.
The boots.
The boots. McClane hurriedly tries on Tony's boots. He winces, takes them off, tosses them in the trash, and delivers that instantly classic line, "A million terrorists in the world, and I kill the one with feet smaller than my sister."
It's funny, but it's so critical, isn't it?
Yeah.
The script forces him to remain vulnerable and barefoot. The audience knows that every subsequent jump, every broken pane of glass, every scramble across a floor is going to be more painful because of this one detail.
It completely humanizes him. He's not superhuman. He's constantly fighting this nagging physical pain.
The immediate, iconic payoff follows. McClane sends Tony's body down in the elevator. It's fitted with a red Santa hat and a note. Now I have a machine gun. Oh ho.
I've always wondered about that note. Is that a natural reaction for a cop, or is that the writer forcing the Christmas theme?
I think it's a mix of desperate defiance, a coded message to Holly that he's still fighting, and a psychological strike against them. It's a refusal to let them have the holiday quiet.
I like that. It's using the holiday context as a psychological weapon. Hans sees the body and recognizes the source is something else, a professional threat, but he insists they do not alter the plan.
But
Carl, now driven by vengeance for his brother, he instantly becomes the secondary, highly personal antagonist focused only on killing John. The antagonist's internal structure has already cracked.
So McClane's next move is to connect with the outside world. He uses the CB on the roof, fighting through the frustrating bureaucracy of the police dispatcher. The script captures this perfectly. The supervisor is condescending, telling him to dial 911.
And McClane's frustrated retort, "Do I sound like I'm ordering a pizza?" gets him an order for a casual drive-by check.
And this is how we meet Officer Al Powell. We first see him at a 7-Eleven buying Hostess Twinkies for his pregnant wife.
That one scene just humanizes him immediately. He's relatable, a little overweight. He's on a low-priority call on Christmas Eve. His humanity is immediately contrasted with McClane's desperate, isolated violence.
The writers then expertly use sound to force Powell's action. When McClane is pinned down by gunfire on the roof, the intense sound blasts through the dispatcher's headset. This auditory proof forces them to finally send a black and white.
So Powell arrives. He's prepared to write it off as a false alarm. He hears the calm holiday music filtering from the speakers. The script even specifies, "Let it snow," He's ready to go back to his Twinkies.
But McClane, desperate, throws a chair at the window to get the terrorists' attention.
This leads to the fight with Marco and Heinrich, where McClane, despite his vulnerability, proves his superior street smarts. He kills Marco by firing 2 shots up through the underside of the table. Thanks for the advice, he says.
And this is the physical climax that forces external intervention. Powell is driving away, humming the music, "Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow."
And suddenly, Marco's body crashes onto the hood of his car. The visual proof, Powell covered in shattered glass, forces the intervention. Powell realizes the severity. 1 Atom 10 under automatic rifle fire at Nakatomi, requesting immediate backup.
And McClane delivers the punchline that welcomes us all into the chaos. "Welcome to the party, pal." The stakes just became citywide, but John is still the essential operator.
And with the cavalry coming, the personal bond between McClane and Powell strengthens instantly over that CB radio. McClane gives Powell this detailed analysis of the threat. Their clothing labels, phony IDs, the fact that they're badass preps.
This shared professional language is so vital. McClane establishes his credibility, and this little buzzer goes off in Powell's head. He responds on a hunch, recognizing McClane's experience. "I hear you, partner."
That partnership solidifies their bond. They're 2 isolated professionals working outside the bureaucracy, and it becomes the necessary counterpoint to the impending failure of the official response.
Yeah, and that external force is represented by Deputy Chief Dwayne T. Robinson, who is immediately dismissive and obsessed with protocol.
Right, he's questioning if McClane is a terrorist or some kind of nutcase.
It's a great structural tool. By having the authorities immediately doubt and dismiss the hero, the script reinforces McClane's necessary isolation and justifies his eventual extreme actions.
We also get a crucial look at the outside world through the reporter, Richard Thornburg, who starts his broadcast, creating the public narrative of international terrorism, a narrative that Argyle sees in the parking garage, which finally confirms the scale of the chaos for him.
So the official response is swift, but it's catastrophically foolish. The FBI playbook dictates a full frontal assault. The SWAT team moves in.
But Theo, watching the monitors from the vault room, is just delighted. He starts whistling Singin' in the Rain while monitoring their approach. It leads to one of the most memorable pieces of villain dialogue.
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
It was the night before Xmas, and all through the house not a creature was stirring except for the 4 assholes coming in the rear in standard 2x2 cover formation.
That use of the Christmas context is so incredibly dark and effective. It turns a holiday rhyme into a piece of tactical reconnaissance.
Hans orders his men to just wound them, ensuring maximum chaos and press attention. The armored car is destroyed by an anti-tank gun, and the screams that follow just confirm the profound failure of the organized response.
This is where the script delivers its internal justification for why McClane has to remain the sole effective force. Listening to the cries, he takes action. He rigs a chunk of plastique, 3 detonators, and a typewriter to his secretary's chair, and shoves it all into the elevator shaft.
Scene 211, Geronimo, motherfuckers!
Resulting explosion rips across the 3rd floor, blowing out the machine gun nest and killing 2 terrorists. The blast is so powerful that a desk is sent hurtling across the Avenue of the Stars. This single, chaotic, high-cost act by the barefoot cop saves the remaining SWAT officers.
But the bureaucracy doesn't recognize salvation. Robinson gets on the radio to McClane, and he is purely administrative. Demolishing a building doesn't fall under the definition of help.
Right. There's hundreds of people out here, and you covered half of them in pieces of glass.
And McClane's response is his breaking point. It cements his refusal to follow their rules. Glass my ass. Who the fuck is this? And I haven't seen such a fucked up operation since The Bride of Frankenstein.
He's exhausted, but his sense of justice overrides everything. Robinson threatens to throw him in jail, but Powell steps up. He defends his partner.
Yeah, he says. He's alone, tired, hunted, and hasn't seen diddly squat from us, and you think he gives a flying fuck about what you're going to do to him.
This whole dynamic, McClane the competent rogue, Powell is his indispensable ally, and Robinson the arrogant bureaucracy. It's structurally essential for maintaining the tension. If the police were competent, the movie would be over.
And the tension is immediately ratcheted up again with the Ellis betrayal. Ellis sees Hans Gruber's name on TV and assumes he can negotiate a safe exit. He is the corporate counterpoint to McClane. McClane is saving his family. Ellis is only saving himself. He's trying to insert himself into the hostile takeover negotiation.
His tragic flaw is mistaking high-class criminality for a business opportunity. "Hans, baby, I'm your white knight." He reveals McClane's identity, Mr. Officer John McClane on the NYPD.
And this confirmation gives Hans a valuable new piece of information. He has the wife of the cop who's disrupting his entire plan.
McClane, listening over the radio, tries desperately to save Ellis's life by destroying his value to Hans. He yells, "That asshole's not my friend. I barely know him. I hate his fucking guts."
It's a magnificent moment of quick thinking. He's trying to deny their friendship, make Ellis worthless as a bargaining chip, but Hans, always one step ahead, uses Ellis not for information but as a message.
He shoots Ellis in the forehead in a frighteningly smooth motion and opens the door to make sure McClane and the police hear the hostage's screams. Hans regains psychological control by demonstrating absolute lethality.
This sets up Hans's crucial negotiation with Robinson. He lists these outrageous boilerplate political demands, releasing terrorists from Northern Ireland, Quebec, Sri Lanka, a list Hans admits he read in Time magazine.
It's a perfect example of dramatic irony. The police and the FBI hear this list and instantly stop focusing on the money. They start treating it as a textbook political hostage crisis. The script uses this to its advantage because we know the true objective is still the bearer bonds.
In the vault room, Hans tells Theo he doesn't care if they comply. The demands are just delaying tactics. Theo notes that only one lock remains, the electromagnetic seal, and it will take a miracle to open it.
And Hans responds, "It's Christmas, Theo. It's the time of miracles." That line is so chilling because it perfectly foreshadows how the FBI will become their unwitting helper.
Okay, so now we move into the true emotional climax of the film, which focuses on McClane's physical and emotional low point. He's wounded, isolated, battling exhaustion.
He's in a bathroom washing his bloodied foot. The script says he pulls out a shard of glass almost 3 inches long, his mouth twisted in a silent scream.
That moment is so visceral. It emphasizes that every single injury he sustained was a direct result of that throwaway piece of advice from the start of the film.
It connects all the action to his vulnerability. And this physical pain, it loosens his emotional guard, which leads directly to the internal climax of the script.
Powell, over the radio, asks what got him off the street. McClane, racked with pain, just asks Powell the same question. And Powell, feeling that mutual vulnerability, finally confesses, I shot a kid.
It's the moment of deep mutual partnership. 2 broken cops in a war zone on Christmas Eve.
And crucially, John uses this newfound emotional honesty to complete his own internal character arc. Seriously injured, he uses the CB to ask Powell to relay his final, genuine apology to Holly.
"I'm sorry, she was the best thing that ever happened to a bum like me."
He sheds the ego that brought him to LA, he accepts blame for the marital rift, and his subsequent fight becomes purely about saving her life.
Meanwhile, the external response is about to fail spectacularly due to just pure bureaucratic arrogance. The FBI arrives. Agent Johnson and Agent Johnson, no relation.
They seize control and immediately dismiss McClane. If he's not a terrorist and he's not a hostage, he's just not part of the equation.
And this is where the dialogue shines, because Powell's indignation is the voice of reason.
Yes. It reveals that the FBI's rigid playbook, their assumption that this is a classic political terrorist situation, makes them blind to the financial motive. And ironically, it makes them indistinguishable from the villains in their willingness to sacrifice human life for procedure.
The Johnsons ordered the city engineers to cut the building's power, a textbook response. They cut Grid 212, taking down 10 square blocks of Century City power on Christmas Eve.
And this leads to Hans's masterstroke. The FBI's action, meant to shut down the building, automatically deactivates the final electromagnetic seal on the vault. The LED readout changes. Fiber optic time lock deactivated at source. 7th lock disengaged.
Hans, Theo, and Christoph just cheer. They're laughing as the vault door opens, revealing the bearer bonds.
And Hans delivers the dramatic irony with perfect flourish. You ask for miracles, Theo. I give you the FBI.
The script makes the U.S. government the unwitting, perfect accomplice. It rewards the villain preparation and proves the superiority of McClane's street intuition over institutional arrogance.
So McClane realizes he's been double-crossed and rushes to the roof where Hans was supposedly spotted. He discovers the whole roof is wired with explosives, meant to blow up the FBI helicopters and the hostages to fake Hans's death.
He tries to warn Powell, but Carl ambushes him.
Carl, driven by pure vengeance, smashes McClane's CB and says, "We're both professionals, but this is personal. You are done."
And the vicious duel begins. Carl's martial training against McClane's desperate, exhausted street fighting. McClane, using every ounce of strength, drives Carl back and ends up hanging him by the neck with a chain over a turbine.
The final sequence is just pure, beautiful chaos. McClane races back to the roof, where the hostages are cheering the arriving FBI choppers.
And you hear the FBI's cold assessment of breakage? I figure we take out all the terrorists and lose 20% of the hostages, 25 tops. It's the final indictment of their failure.
McClane fires over the heads of the hostages to force them downstairs, screaming the truth. This ain't a helipad, it's a launching pad.
And the FBI choppers, misinterpreting his actions as a terrorist firing on hostages, start attacking him. It just reinforces the idea that he is fundamentally alone against the system and the criminals.
Hans, seeing the hostages escaping from his vault room window, races to the detonator and hits the button. The helipad explodes, engulfing the lead FBI chopper, which crashes down the side of the building. The spectacular final symbol of external authority's utter collapse.
And McClane only survives by executing that desperate high-wire act, using the fire hose to rappel down the building just as the explosion hits. He's nearly dragged to his death when the hose wheel is blasted off the roof. Clawing at the floor with his wounded foot, he scrambles free just before the wheel sails off into the great beyond.
Surviving his own desperate plan is his final physical victory.
And the coda, the ending, just provides 3 major payoffs that complete every single structural loop. First, Argyle.
Yes, Argyle.
He sees Theo escaping in a paramedic van with the bearer bonds. Argyle floors the limo, crashes into the van, and decks Theo with a single, deeply satisfying punch. The initial exposition character gets his heroic moment.
The main conflict returns to the vault room. Hans grabs Holly, using her as a shield. He's about to shoot McClane, who has only 1 bullet left in his Beretta, which he cleverly taped to the back of his neck.
And Hans, aiming, tries to deliver the final taunt.
But McClane cuts him off, delivering the now iconic line.
He shoots Hans high in the chest. Hans staggers, but with a last reserve of strength, he grabs Holly's wrist. He's hanging out the window, pulling Holly with him, holding on to the watch.
The watch.
The symbol of Holly's corporate success and the original source of their marital discord.
That watch payoff is, it's arguably the script's most thematically perfect moment.
It is. McClane realizes he can't pull her in. So he unclasps the watch band. The metal snaps, and Hans falls to his death with the broken timepiece, the literal symbol of their fractured marriage, broken off and discarded.
And the internal arc is complete. Holly, pulling herself back in, corrects her name when she's talking to Powell later, Holly McClane. The external action saved her life, but that internal gesture, the watch, saved their marriage.
But Powell's redemption arc still needs its fulfillment.
Carl reappears, scorched, dirty, leveling his machine gun at the McClanes. McClane is disarmed, but Powell, standing behind him, finally draws his .38. His hand is rock steady.
He shoots Carl dead, finally resolving the trauma of shooting that child 11 years earlier. Powell's arc, which began with Twinkies and fear, ends with an act of heroic necessity.
And the final beat, the ultimate victory over the self-serving narrative, is Holly punching the reporter Richard Thornburg, a collective victory over the media and the outside world's corruption. What a dense, satisfying cascade of payoffs.
The density of setups and payoffs in this script is just truly remarkable. For me, the watch payoff and Powell's redemption shot are the pinnacle. They take these small, seemingly incidental details from the first act and return them as the critical, concluding emotional beats.
And for me, it's the dramatic irony surrounding the FBI. Hans Gruber giving a toast to the FBI for opening his vault. It's the height of villainous genius. And it works because the writers built in the structural justification for the FBI's failure, their rigid reliance on the textbook definition of terrorism.
So what does this script teach aspiring writers, filmmakers, and story lovers about crafting unforgettable narratives? We've distilled 3 key takeaways from the blueprint of Die Hard.
Okay, tip 1. Establishing stakes and vulnerability. Don't just give your hero global or external stakes. Give them an immediate physical handicap and profoundly personal stakes.
Right. McClane isn't just saving hostages. He's saving his marriage, and he has to do it while barefoot and bleeding. This constant vulnerability humanizes him and increases the tension dramatically. When he pulls that shard of glass out, you feel the cost of every single victory. The stakes aren't theoretical, they're visceral.
Tip 2. The payoff formula returned with amplified meaning. Every single plot detail, no matter how small, has to return amplified in the third act. Argyle, the minor character, becomes the unlikely action hero who saves the money.
Powell's gun trauma, established with a Twinkie joke, leads to the final shot of redemption. And most importantly, the watch, symbolizing Holly's corporate success, becomes the final, tangible object separating the hero and his wife from the villain. It's the perfect amplified use of foreshadowing.
And tip 3. The use of setting, the verdict. And this brings us back to our core question. Is Die Hard just an amazing action script, or is it an essential Christmas script?
Looking at the mechanics, the answer is definitively yes. It's essential.
It's essential because that Christmas setting maximizes the story's central themes of isolation and the powerful desire for reunion. The holiday instantly conveys John's displacement from his family and elevates the urgency.
Yeah, the violent intrusion into the lavish Nakatomi Christmas party is magnified by the supposed peace of the season. If this were set on a random Tuesday in July, the marital conflict would just be background noise.
Exactly. Because it's Christmas Eve, the emotional stakes, the apology, the struggle to get home to his kids become the driving, urgent force for why this tired cop pushes himself past every physical limit.
McClane's journey is fundamentally about family and reconciliation, framed by that holiday pressure to be together. The script uses the Christmas context to ensure that the emotional payoff, Holly becoming Holly McClane, again lands with the maximum possible resonance.
It's an amazing action script, precisely because it is an essential Christmas script.
We hope this analysis gives you a newfound appreciation for the layered genius of this screenplay. The way it tracks the external fight against Hans Gruber alongside John's internal fight for humility and reconciliation is just, well, it's unmatched.
Thank you for joining us as we went deep into the blueprint of Die Hard. If you loved analyzing the structure and mechanics of this film, what script should we unlock next?
Yeah, think about a film that seems chaotic on the surface, but is secretly held together by some ingenious structure.
Exactly. Find that underlying architecture. We challenge you to rewatch Die Hard this holiday season, not just for the action, but for every single intentional, painful, beautiful step of John McClane's barefoot journey.
Thank you for checking the plot with us here on Pencil Paper Plot.